Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Sunday, January 18th, 2026.
Happy New Year.
And to you. So the holiday season is well and truly in the rearview mirror. The Australian Open is really heating up down in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's in full swing now.
And we are back in the studio ready to unpack another stack of sources. Today, we are focusing our lens on a figure who, well, technically speaking, has been retired from playing for nearly 18 months.
Yeah, a year and a half.
But if you've been following the sports pages or, frankly, just glancing at your social media feeds, you know he has been arguably more visible in the last year than he was in his final playing season.
It's been a very strange, very loud retirement, hasn't it?
It has. We are talking, of course, about Sir Andy Murray. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, wait, didn't we do a retrospective when he hung up his racket after the Paris Olympics back in 2024?
We did.
Yes, we did. But the story didn't end there. In fact, looking at the sources we have today, the narrative arc actually got, well, weirder. It got more unlikely. Because while we're going to look back at the metal hip, the golden eras, and, the tears, we have to talk about the plot twist that concluded mid-last year. The moment that sounded like bad fan fiction, but actually happened.
You are referring, of course, to the coaching stint.
I am. The man who spent his entire career battling Novak Djokovic, often losing to him in the most heartbreaking fashion imaginable, ended up coaching him.
Through the first half of 2025, yeah.
It's a narrative twist that I don't think any of us saw coming.
No, it really was the ultimate game recognizes game moment, though. But to understand why that partnership was so fascinating and why Murray remains such a colossal, complex figure in global sport, we have to go back. We have to unpack the sheer absurdity of his career.
Exactly. Our mission today is to explore the resilience of a man who played elite tennis with a metal hip. We want to finally, definitively settle the debate on the Big Four era and why Murray's 3 Grand Slams, well, they might just be worth 20 in any other generation.
It's a fair argument.
And we need to talk about the man himself, from that, grumpy Scott caricature to the feminist icon and national treasure he became.
There's a lot to get through. We've got archives covering his career from 2005 all the way to his business ventures here in 2026.
So let's dive in. Segment 1, the impossible era.
Okay.
We often throw around the term Big Four. It's Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray. But there has always been that dissenting voice, mostly on social media, saying, well, is it really a Big Four? Or is it a Big Three? And then Andy Murray trying to keep up.
That is the perennial debate. It's the favorite topic of tennis Twitter, isn't it? But if you look at the raw data, and we have a ton of it here, excluding Murray from that group it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what that era was.
How so?
You have to look at the context of competition. Andy Murray's prime coincided exactly, almost to the month, with the primes of the 3 greatest players to ever pick up a racket.
It's arguably the worst timing in sporting history.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. In any other era, you drop him in the 90s, the early 2000s, Murray is a dominant force. He's winning multiple slams a year.
Right.
But here, to win a big tournament, a Masters or a Slam, Murray didn't just have to beat a decent field. He usually had to beat Djokovic and Federer, or Nadal and Djokovic.
Back to back.
Back to back. In the semis and the final, it was a statistical anomaly. From roughly 2008 to 2016, there was a complete lockout at the top of the game by those 4 guys.
And yet, despite that wall of talent, Murray cemented himself. You look at the sources, by the end of 2016, he wasn't just hanging on.
No, he wasn't the 4th man then. He was the world #1.
The ITF world champion.
He was, mathematically and practically, the best player on the planet. He'd climbed the mountain over all 3 of them.
And the numbers back that up. Even beyond that #1 ranking, we're talking about 46 ATP singles titles.
Which is a huge number.
He spent 41 weeks at world #1, and he reached 11 major finals. Now, sure, critics will point out he only, and I use giant air quotes there, won 3 of them.
Right, the 3-8 record.
He lost 8. But let's look at who he lost to.
This is the key. This is the entire context. He lost 4 Australian Open finals to Novak Djokovic.
4 times to the same guy in the same final.
Unbelievable. He lost the French Open final to Djokovic. He lost Wimbledon and U.S. Open finals to Federer. These aren't losses to, random journeymen or guys having a lucky week.
No.
He was consistently the 2nd best player in the world, and for that one brilliant stretch, the very best. You take any other era, say, the Sampras Agassi era, and drop prime Andy Murray into it, he likely walks away with double-digit slams.
Oh, easily. Conservative estimates would put him at, 10 or 12 majors?
At least. because his game, that counterpunching style, was so well suited to breaking down the big servers of that time.
But there is one record, one gold standard, where he stands completely alone. Even the big three can't touch him here.
The Olympics. This is the crown jewel of the Murray argument.
It really is.
Andy Murray's the only tennis player, male or female, to win 2 consecutive Olympic singles gold medals, London 2012 and Rio 2016.
That is wild when you think about it. Not Federer, not Serena, not Rafa, just Andy.
It speaks to his ability to perform under a very specific type of pressure, you know?
National pressure.
Yes, national pressure. The Olympics is different. You aren't just playing for yourself or your prize money, you're playing for the flag. And Murray, perhaps because of his background and the complex relationship he had with the British public early on, he thrived on that.
Us against the world mentality.
Totally.
Yeah.
When he put on that Team GB shirt, his defensive stats, which were already incredible, actually improved. He became a wall. It was personal for him.
So we've established he belongs at the top table. No debate there.
None.
But to understand the player, we have to understand the person. Let's go back to the origins, segment 2. Origins of a tactician.
Okay.
He was born in Glasgow, but raised in Dunblane. And sadly, you can't say the name Dunblane without remembering the tragedy of 1996.
No, you can't. And it's a part of Murray's history that he has, quite understandably, been very protective of. He was 8 years old.
Just a kid.
He was there at Dunblane Primary School during the massacre. He took cover in a classroom. He actually knew the perpetrator from a local boys' club. It's unimaginable.
And for a long time, he said he was too young to really process it.
Which makes sense. He mentions it in his autobiography, Hitting Back, and very briefly in his documentary, but he rarely, if ever, talks about it in interviews.
And you have to respect that. He refused to be defined by victimhood. He just wanted to play tennis.
Exactly. And speaking of tennis, we have to talk about the Murray family. Judy Murray, his mother, and Jamie, his brother. It's a proper tennis dynasty.
It is, but it wasn't a story of, plush country clubs and endless privilege.
No, not at all. It was a story of sacrifice. And at age 15, Murray made a decision that really separated him from his British peers. He looked around the LTA system, the manicured grass courts, the polite pee breaks, and realized, I'm not going to get tough here.
He wasn't going to build the kind of resilience he needed.
So he left. He left the comfort of home and moved to Barcelona to train at the Sánchez Casal Academy.
And that wasn't cheap. I was looking at the sources. It cost his parents something like £40,000.
A massive gamble.
A huge gamble on a teenager who, at the time, was talented, but physically a bit, gangly and unproven.
It was a huge risk. But he knew, and his mother Judy knew, that he needed to train on clay. He needed that grit. He needed to learn how to construct a point, not just hit hard. And that's where the tactician was really born.
But there's another detail about his teenage years that often gets overlooked, which becomes hugely relevant later when we discuss his injuries.
The knee, right.
And the knee, the bipartite patella.
Yeah. He was diagnosed at 16. Essentially, for listeners who don't know, his kneecap remained as 2 separate bones instead of fusing together as it does in most people.
Which sounds incredibly painful.
It caused him frequent chronic pain throughout his entire career. If you watch old footage from 2006 or 2007, you'll often see him clutching his knee after long points. He was playing through pain management his entire career, long before the hip became the headline.
That context makes his playing style even more impressive. We know him as the counterpuncher. He was a defensive wall. But looking at the analysis here, that label feels a bit reductive.
Oh, it is reductive. A better term might be a web spinner or a tactician. Murray couldn't just blast people off the court like a Nadal or a prime Federer.
Yeah.
He didn't have that effortless, explosive power.
So he used geometry.
He used geometry. He had one of the highest tennis IQs ever recorded. He would use a slow, looping ball to push you back, then a slice to bring you in, just to set up the passing shot. He was always 3 shots ahead. He lured you into traps.
And he had the shots to back it up, that two-handed backhand.
One of the best the game has ever seen. Pure, fluid, and he could redirect pace better than anyone.
And according to Tim Henman, arguably the best lob in the game.
Oh, the lob was his signature weapon. It was art. Most players lob defensively, right? They do it when they're in trouble to buy time.
Just to reset the point.
Murray lobbed offensively. He would draw players into the net specifically because he wanted to lob them. It was almost sadistic. If you came to the net against Murray, you were terrified because you could put that ball on a postage stamp on the baseline right over your head.
So you have this tactical genius, this defensive wizard, grinding his way up, but he keeps hitting the glass ceiling of Federer and Nadal. That brings us to segment 3, the peak years. 2012 to 2016, the era where he finally broke through.
Yes.
And it started with a hiring decision that raised a few eyebrows at the time.
Ivan Lendl, end of 2011.
The stony-faced legend. The man who smiled even less than Andy.
It was the perfect match, though. It was the missing piece. Lendl brought a hardness to Murray's game.
How so, specifically?
Well, technically, he improved the second serve, which was always a liability. He got Murray to be more aggressive on it. And he encouraged him to be more offensive, to flatten out that forehand rather than just guiding it.
Right. Take control of the point earlier.
Exactly. But more importantly, it was the psychology. Lendl had lost 4 major finals before winning his first one. He understood exactly that haunting feeling Murray was going through. He gave Murray permission to be ruthless.
And 2012 was the year it all coalesced, but it started with more heartbreak. The 2012 Wimbledon final.
Oh, yeah.
The first Brit in the final since 1938. The nation is holding its breath, and he loses to Federer.
He lost the match, but in a way, he won the public that day, that on-court speech where he just broke down in tears and struggled to get the words out.
I'm getting closer.
That was the moment the Grumpy Scott image shattered for good. The British public saw a human being who cared more than anything in the world. It bought him the goodwill he needed for what happened next.
And then the redemption arc. Just 4 weeks later.
4 weeks.
Same court, same opponent.
But the London Olympics.
And a completely different result. He didn't just beat Federer, he dismantled him. Straight sets for the gold medal. It was the most un-Murray match ever because he didn't struggle. He dominated from start to finish.
It was like a switch flipped. That gold medal unlocked something in him. It proved to himself more than anyone that he could beat the best on the biggest stage.
It must have, because later that year, the U.S. Open, he plays Djokovic.
A monster of a match.
The wind is howling. It's a brutal match.
A 5-set war of attrition. The wind was so bad the ball was moving like 3 feet in the air. It wasn't pretty tennis. It was gut-check tennis. And that first set tiebreak.
12-10.
It set the record for the longest tiebreak in U.S. Open final history. And he won it. And he held on. He became the first British male Grand Slam winner since Fred Perry in 1936.
The ghost was finally exorcised.
The weight of history just lifted.
And then 2013, he brings it home. Wimbledon, beating Djokovic again, ending the 77-year drought. I remember where I was. I think everyone in the UK remembers where they were.
Oh, it was a moment of national catharsis. The roar when he won match point. You could probably hear it from space. But if we are talking about peak performance, the absolute zenith of his abilities, we have to talk about 2016.
The God mode season.
That's what I call it.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. He made the finals of the first 3 majors, lost to Djokovic in Australia and France.
Right.
Then he wins his second Wimbledon. He wins his second Olympic gold in Rio, which is just insane. And then he goes on an absolute tear to hunt down the world #1 ranking.
I remember that run at the end of the year. It felt like he was playing every single week.
He was. He won Beijing, Shanghai, Vienna, Paris. Then he had to beat Djokovic in the final of the ATP World Tour Finals to clinch the year-end #1. And he did it.
He won 24 consecutive matches to end the season.
It was statistically one of the greatest individual seasons in tennis history, but, and this is the crucial point we have to dwell on, that season likely broke him.
That's the tragedy of it, isn't it? The effort required to overtake Djokovic, who was playing at an alien level himself, it destroyed his body.
It was absolute peak physical exertion. He was redlining the engine for 12 months straight. He pushed his hip joint beyond its biological limit.
I mean, the hip is a ball and socket joint, right? It's designed for rotation, but not the width.
Not the violent, abrupt stopping and starting and sliding that Murray did for 5 hours a day. He ground the cartilage down to the bone. He achieved the goal, he climbed the mountain, but the cost was the rest of his prime.
Which leads us, unfortunately, into the dark times. Segment 4, the metal hip and the resurrection. 2017 comes around and the wheels start to fall off.
And they fall off fast. The decline was sharp. He went from world #1 to out of the top 100 in about a year, and the hip injury was debilitating.
This wasn't just sore after a match.
No. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't put his socks on. There is a scene in his documentary where he's driving and says simply moving his foot from the gas to the brake sends a shockwave of pain through his body.
Wow.
This was chronic, life-altering pain.
There was that moment at the Washington Open in 2018. He finished a match at 3 a.m. and he just sat there and wept into his towel. It wasn't tears of joy. It was exhaustion and pain.
It was the realization that his body couldn't do what his mind commanded anymore. And that culminated in January 2019, the retirement that wasn't.
The press conference at the Australian Open, it was devastating to watch. He basically said, I can't do this anymore. The pain is too much.
And the tournament actually played a farewell video on the big
I
screen.
know, Federer, Djokovic, Rafa, everyone saying, we'll miss you, Andy. It was like attending your own funeral.
It was so premature, obviously, but at the time it felt final. Murray truly believed he was facing a life of chronic pain, maybe even mobility issues, if he continued.
But then Bob Bryan, the doubles legend, gets in his ear.
Yes, Brian had undergone a very specific surgery, the Birmingham hip resurfacing.
The BHR. It sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. Listener, if you don't know this procedure, it's just wild. They don't cut the bone off like a traditional replacement.
No, they smooth it down and put a metal cap over it. It's like a crown for a tooth, but for the top of your femur. A cobalt chrome metal cap, and then a metal cup in the socket.
It is literally metal on metal.
Metal on metal. No cartilage, no natural shock absorption. For an elite athlete to even consider it is one thing. To come back to singles tennis with a metal joint grinding away it's medically absurd.
The surgeons told him, basically, you can have a pain-free life or you can play pro tennis. You probably can't do both.
And Murray said, watch me.
Essentially, he got the surgery, the resurrection began, and late 2019, he comes back, and he wins the doubles at Queen's Club with Feliciano Lopez.
Just months after surgery.
And he looked pain-free. He was moving. And then the miracle in Antwerp.
October 2019, the European Open. He plays Stan Wawrinka in the final. Now, you have to remember, Wawrinka hits the ball harder than almost anyone. And here's Murray, running around with a prosthetic hip.
And he wins.
He wins. He wins an ATP singles title.
Yeah.
He beat Stan Wawrinka in 3 sets, coming from a set down. It has to be one of the greatest achievements in sports medicine and just pure grit.
It really is.
It proved that his tennis IQ was so high that he could compensate for the physical limitations. He could outthink opponents even if he couldn't outrun them.
But of course, the fairy tale has its limits. Physics wins eventually.
It does. The body compensates, right? If the hip is metal and stiff, the back takes the load. Then the abs take the load. Then the ankles.
Which brings us to segment 5, the final years and the twist. From 2020 to 2024, it was a grind. He battled everything. Ankle ligaments, back injuries, abdominal strains.
Groin issues, yeah. It was a constant battle.
But he still gave us flashes. Remember that match against Kokonakis at the Australian Open in 2023?
How could I forget? 5 hours and 45 minutes. It finished at 4:05 a.m.
4 in the morning.
He was diving all over the court with a metal hip. He was 2 sets to love down. He saved match points. It was pure Murray. It was stubbornness personified. He refused to lose, purely out of spite and competitive will.
But the end had to come. The 2024 Paris Olympics felt like the right place.
It's it. He reached the doubles quarterfinals with Dan Evans, and that was it. He waved goodbye. August 2024. Retired.
And we all thought, okay, that's it. A well-deserved rest. He'll go play golf, maybe do some commentary, raise his kids.
And he did play golf. He even won a trophy at a media day. He joined Red Rice Ventures as a partner. He was transitioning to business, just like the sources say. And then, November 23rd, 2024.
The bombshell.
The notification popped up on my phone, and I genuinely thought it was a parody account.
Me too. Novak Djokovic hires Andy Murray as head coach for the 2025 season. I had to read it 3 times.
It made 0 sense, and yet total sense at the same time. Here are 2 men born a week apart. They grew up together on the junior tour. They played 36 times as pros.
Djokovic won 25 of them.
Yeah. He beat Murray in 4 Australian Open finals and a French Open final.
It's the irony of ironies. The man who blocked Murray from becoming a 10-time slam champion asks Murray to help him extend his own career against the new generation like Alcaraz and Sinner.
But think about the insight Murray has. No one on earth knows Djokovic's game better than the guy who spent 2 decades trying to dismantle it. Murray knew the patterns, the psychology, the tells, the tiny weaknesses that only an opponent sees.
Djokovic was looking for an edge, a fresh perspective.
And who better than his greatest tactical rival?
And it worked, at least for a bit.
It did. It was surreal seeing Murray in Djokovic's box at the Australian Open in 2025. He just sat there, stoic as ever, barely clapping, wearing the Djokovic team gear.
So strange.
But he coached Novak to the semis there and then the Miami Open final. It was a short stint. It ended in May 2025, but it was fascinating. You could see the influence.
What did you see?
A layer of variety to Djokovic's game. We saw more drop shots, more net approaches, more sliced backhands to change the pace. It was like seeing Murray's brain operating Djokovic's body.
So why did the partnership end so quickly?
I think it was just intensity overload. Two alpha perfectionists in one box is exhausting. And practically speaking, Murray didn't retire from playing just to travel the world 40 weeks a year as a coach. He wanted to be home with his 4 children.
Which is completely fair.
But it was a beautiful, weird postscript to their rivalry. It showed that underneath all that fierce competition, there was immense respect.
And now, here we are in 2026. Murray is back to business, back to golf, and hopefully giving his hip a rest. But, we can't do a Murray deep dive without talking about the man off the court. Because his legacy isn't just forehands and backhands.
Not even close.
Segment 6, personality, politics, and legacy.
This is crucial, because early in his career, he was so misunderstood. The infamous anyone but England joke.
Oh, the 2006 World Cup joke. He was, 19? A teenager?
Yeah. A reporter asked him who he'd support in the World Cup since Scotland wasn't there, and he joked, whoever England is playing. He was teasing Tim Henman in the English press. It was banter.
But the tabloids crucified him. They painted him as this dour, anti-English Scot. It took years to shake that.
It did. But what really turned the tide was his authenticity. He didn't play the PR game. And crucially, he became a very vocal male feminist in a sport that didn't always welcome that energy.
The hiring of Amelia Mauresmo in 2014, that was historic.
It was a radical move. She was the first woman to coach a top male player. And the backlash was real. People said it was a publicity stunt, a mistake. When he lost matches, the press and even other players implicitly blamed her.
And Murray stood in front of the press and he defended her ferociously.
He called out the double standard. He basically said, she was a great player, she's a great coach, my results before her were bad, so don't blame her. He said, have I become a feminist? Well, if being a feminist means fighting so that a woman is treated like a man, then yes, I suppose I have.
Which is such a powerful, clear statement.
And then there was that viral moment with the reporter at the Rio Olympics. The reporter congratulated him, saying he was the first person to win 2 Olympic tennis golds.
And Murray instantly, without missing a beat, interjected, Venus and Serena have won about 4 each.
That clip went viral for a reason. He wasn't trying to be viral. He just genuinely respects the women's game. He doesn't erase their achievements. It's just part of his DNA.
He was also very clear on Scottish independence. He stayed quiet for a long time, probably burned by the 2006 backlash.
Yeah, you can't blame him.
But just before the 2014 vote, he tweeted support for the Yes campaign. He got a ton of abuse for it, but he stood by it. He generally identifies as both Scottish and British. He really embodies that duality of the modern UK.
He does, and we have to mention his humor. His Twitter, or X, or whatever platform we are on these days, was gold.
So dry, self-deprecating, tweeting about his chubby fingers, making fun of his own on-court crying.
He was actually the funniest of the big 4, by a country mile.
Yeah.
He never took himself that seriously, only the sport.
So what does this all mean? Let's wrap this up. When we look at the career of Sir Andy Murray, what is the headline?
For me, it's a triumph of will, a triumph of sheer stubbornness. He was a man who played in the toughest era in tennis history. He was, let's be honest, physically outmatched by the grace of Federer, the brute force of Nadal, and the superhuman elasticity of Djokovic.
Right, he didn't have a single overwhelming physical weapon like they did.
No. But he carved out a Hall of Fame career through intelligence, tactical brilliance, and a refusal to quit that bordered on masochism.
Resilience, that's the word, isn't it? Coming back from back surgery. Coming back from a career-ending hip surgery. Winning titles with metal parts in his body.
He proves that you don't have to be the chosen one to be a legend. You can grind your way to greatness. You can be the guy who just works harder, thinks smarter, and tolerates more pain than anyone else.
And that final twist coaching Djokovic, it just adds this layer of psychological complexity that I absolutely love. It's like the end of a movie where the hero and the villain sit down for a drink.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it raises a provocative question for you to think about, doesn't it? We spend our lives trying to beat our rivals. But is competition actually the ultimate form of intimacy? The ultimate form of respect? After decades of chasing Djokovic, Murray found his final tennis chapter sitting in his rival's box, helping him win. Maybe, in the end, the only person who truly understands what it takes to be Novak Djokovic is Andy Murray, and vice versa.
That is a fascinating thought to leave you with. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the career of Sir Andy Murray. We'll be back next time with another story from the archives. Until then, keep watching the ball.